From deep in the heart of Texas, the town of 30,000, he comes in and steals one from the Australian. Let's go!
Hell yeah. RFK, baby.
If I clip my mic on that one, I don't give a shit, man. Texas got us a win yesterday. I'm drinking a margarita for the podcast.
That wasn't too
I'm having a
loud,
great
actually. That wasn't very loud at all.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, Burrell won't have to worry about getting his eardrums blown off when we do that.
Yeah, great. I'm glad me and you sat at lunch one of the days we were working this weekend, and I told you word for word that Chris Buescher was a lock bet for a top 10, and you put the bet down right at that exact moment.
I put the bet down at the table, like the moment that you said that, because I hadn't even thought about that.
I should have just said he was a lock winner.
Yeah. I can't imagine what I would have made on him for a top 5 because he was plus 110 for a top 10 and got that.
It was, yes, plus 110. And then I saw probably like 5 posts this morning of people that also had Buescher. I haven't seen a single person that posted Buescher as a winning ticket, but I've seen, like I said, I saw like 5 that posted Buescher the top 10 plus 110 bet. So like there was some people that put like $100 down and one, so like more than doubled your money.
That's freaking nuts, man. Gotta love that.
Best average finish on a road course. I mean, he just is like
in the next gen
era. Yeah, he's just really, really consistent at these road courses, like all of them.
Absolutely, and now he's got the win to back it up. So that's just going to put him in the conversation at every single road course.
Yeah,
and any more conversation we can get around an RFK driver, I'm so here for that.
I was really loving on the teardown. I listened to the teardown today while I was mowing grass, and that's the one with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi. And one of them was talking about how they've been like talking to Kevin Harvick and some other people, and it's just kind of like Chris Buescher is like criminally underrated. Like he is, everybody that they were talking about, like the different drivers and stuff, talks about how like Chris Buescher is like one of the most talented drivers out there. But the best part is he's not like at a certain track. He's just kind of really consistent and really good and a top 10 guy like everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the only reason he doesn't get that recognition is because he's not the most flamboyant or boisterous person in the garage.
Totally.
They're always looking for those sound bites and that stuff. And I mean, he kind of put himself out there a little bit earlier this year whenever he had those 2 those 2 finishes back to back. One with Tyler Reddick got him out of, and
then the Larson,
another one
Kansas.
Was it Larson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it was just one of those things where it's like right there in that moment, he was like in the conversation. He was getting close to winning all these races. And then I think it's the missing the playoffs thing. Like he needed this win bad this year just for that little bit of confidence, being like, yeah, we can still come out here and win races. It's not that we're slacking.
Yeah, and I still remember.
It was awesome to see it.
I still remember 10, 12 years ago when I was in high school, before Chris Buescher goes to front row and front row's not doing great. And all the things he's done in Cup to get here. It's just awesome because I still remember back when the Busch Series was all Cup drivers and Chris Buescher used to win every weekend and won championships and just kicked ass. And everyone was on his just, a guy that comes up now. I don't have an example. Just someone that comes up and it's like, oh, my God, this is the guy. This is the guy, whatever. That was Chris Buescher 10, 12 years ago in like 2012, 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Like, he was that guy. And at the time, he was at the, if you're in the Busch Series then going to Roush, you're like, man, I am just shitting in high cotton. And
absolutely.
And then we all know like the whole Roush situation and everything that's happened over the last 15 years. But he just was caught. He just got it. It just all his Cup career happened at a weird time, and then now it's like he's like getting repaid for being the loyal, consistent, awesome driver that he is, in my opinion.
Absolutely, man. And now he's finally getting at least one, if not multiple wins per year. I love that. Let's just make it like 2 or is this 2 or 3 years in a row now that he's had a win in the season? Was this the last 2? 3?
He's got 5 wins. He is top 10 in wins in the next gen era. He is in like 8th, I believe they said.
Hell yeah.
That gets him at either 5 or 6 wins total.
Yeah, because he had that one Pocono win that was rain shortened, and I can't remember what else happened.
That doesn't count in the next gen thing.
Yeah, not in the next gen.
He's got like 5. This is his 5th next gen race, and I think 6 total. You had the season that you had 3, the season before that he had 1, and then this was number 1.
Yeah.
So
I love it,
yeah,
man.
I mean,
I become more a fan of his every time I see more stuff come of his across the across Instagram and stuff.
yeah.
RFK does a great job of putting their drivers out there. So
I'm also, excuse me, I'm also a big Chris Buescher. I mean, as everybody knows with me and you, RFK, we're big RFK fans and stuff.
yeah,
so
absolutely.
just in general,
Brandon seemed like he was pretty damn excited about it yesterday.
Oh yeah.
When you texted him, and I texted him a little bit later whenever I finally got a chance. But he seemed like he was pretty stoked about it.
As he should be.
Absolutely.
After a day like that.
God dang. Yeah, and especially with the way that the win happened, it was against the one guy that everybody considered the favorite to win the race, to the point where he was like plus 500 and goes out there and just flat out races him on those last 2 laps.
Yeah.
Just first he gets past, and then he just manages to hold it together, doesn't lose his head, and gets him in that bus stop when he overdrives it in there.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't believe that SVG made that mistake, but he was just.
I know.
I loved his interview though, because.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I really am. I love SVG too. Like, I'm just a big fan of that dude. And he was like, kind of talking about the NASCAR way, and like bumping, and he's never been brought up the whole bumping and banging and what makes NASCAR. And he was like, I had to get away. I had to go as fast as I could because I knew if Buescher got back to me, he was going to give me the bumper. And
yeah,
that's, in return what caused him to, kind of mess the bump stop up, or the bus stop up there pretty bad. And then Buescher's
just
there.
overdriving it.
Yeah, Buescher was just there. And it wasn't that Buescher even made if you just look at it coming from the front view, you might be like, yeah, Buescher gave him the bumper, or say something around that. But if you look at his onboard camera, the way his car goes so far to the right and then so far back to the left, Buescher is just there. Like, he never changes anything. He is just right on his bumper when he comes back across. Like, they just made contact in a racing deal. It wasn't like Buescher was just aggressive. He was just hit the bus stop perfect and was just there at the right spot.
It was awesome, man. I was in there just hooting and hollering the whole last lap because it finally comes down and gets that pass made, and I'm like, damn it, he's got him. Like, I'm okay with either of them winning, but obviously being a Texan, I got to go for my guy.
Yeah.
And whenever he got past, I said, damn it. And then all of a sudden the bus stop came, and Allison heard me all the way in the back bedroom screaming, oh, my God, I can't believe he got him back.
Yeah. I couldn't believe, or not that I couldn't believe, but it's been a long time since I was like watching 2 dudes go for the win that I'm like, I am great with whatever this happens if either one of these guys cross the line first. And then, at the end, I really thought, I was like, he's going to come back to him. And then he got loose on that last corner, and I was like, well, that's it. Buescher's got it. So,
yep,
it was just
Buescher's got it, man.
It was awesome. It was a great last lap. Me and you have talked. I thought it was a great race all the way around. I mean,
yes,
the bar is pretty low for road course racing. I'm not saying it was the greatest road course race I've ever seen by any means, which it obviously wasn't that, but just for next gen era stuff, that was probably my favorite one all the way around.
There was finally passing. There was finally reason to pit in a different strategy than just flipping the stage or staying out for points. It gave you a little bit of variety, and to the point where I even told you right before we started this up, I said that it was like you almost couldn't follow pit strategy for the whole field because every driver was on its own individual strategy in some way, shape, or form. And it was honestly like confusing trying to watch the race, but in the greatest possible way because everybody had to try something different to do something for their race. And it ended up with a finishing order that was just absolutely bonkers for the top 10 and everything else out underneath it. Plus all the trouble that you had for your playoff drivers. I mean, there was just something for everybody in that race, I feel like. So I was a huge fan of it. I haven't seen the Jeff Gluck poll, but I'd hope that it was a good race.
It was 81%.
Solid for a road course. Let's freaking go.
Which is probably going to be at the top of the list for road courses since 2022.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, that was the tire fall off was not, 3 to 6 seconds like everybody said, but it was enough to just make somewhat of a difference. Just like when you saw Chastain, and then Buescher takes him back over, and just there's just certain things through the race. And then, I know there was guys talking about getting in the back, but I'm just going to say this. The guys that got in the back, they might have been those cars that were just up front because they were up front. And once they got in the back, they couldn't get back there because cars like Logano, SVG, Buescher, Chastain, all those guys had their strategy screwed up at different points in the race, and they went back and then they came back. So that would be my argument for some of those guys like that, that just that said they were in the back the whole time, and Ty Gibbs, which I agree with Ty Gibbs on bringing back 900 horsepower, but he was mad. Just certain stuff like that. I just,
Yeah.
I still think there's
at
things
the
we
end
could
of
do
the
to make
day,
it better.
I couldn't agree with you more that the tires didn't do enough. I thought they did. They did something. You're very right. But if it wasn't for the fact that like an alternate pit stop happened, you would never notice that the person in front of you was just overdriving their car to stay ahead of you. Because I never really felt like anybody had unequal tire wear based off of how well they managed their car. So that was the one thing that was kind of driving me nuts about it, was if you hadn't told me that there was different tires on the car, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
That there was a possibility of tire fall off if you overdrove them, because I felt like no one ever got to the point where they really did overdrive their tires to the point they were wore out. The only time I ever saw them actually wear out was whenever they were like 50 laps old.
Yeah.
And it was just time for a new set of shoes. So that was the one thing that was kind of getting on my nerves about the whole thing. Is like, man, I feel like we got led up to this so much, and it just really wasn't the greatest thing in the world like we were anticipating it was supposed to be. So it just was what it was. But at least it did give that alternative strategy something to stand on. So you're not just pitting and then getting stuck in the back of the pack. You're pitting, getting stuck in the back of the pack with a bunch of people with older tires, so you can actually make those moves and passes and make it worth it. But I still think it took a good car to make it happen, because the fall-off wasn't, like you said, enough for that difference in speed to just mean easy passes in all the passing zones.
Yeah. It was like the cars that had that elite speed, which was those couple 4 or 5 there that we were talking about, or just, SVG being like an elite driver. I mean, in all honesty, SVG could probably take Rick Ware car. Well, Rick Ware's doing pretty good. I mean, Colleague has just looked awful all year. But when he's in those cars at those tracks, he runs great. Imagine he was talking about how the car had no speed, just like wasn't a good car, and look what he did with it. Like imagine what SVG
he was saying. What was that? No straight line speed.
No, he said no horsepower, no straight line speed. He couldn't get off the corners, like stuff like that, and it just still cracks me up. Because I still remember in our preseason Thunder episode we talked so highly of Colleague Racing in about January of this year. And all the way down from the Busch Xfinity Series to Cup Series and just everything they've been a part of, even with this whole Trackhouse deal and stuff, if it wasn't for SVG, literally if it wasn't for SVG winning races at road courses, Colleague would be, I don't even know what, but it's just been a bad year all the way around for those guys. All of them. Except SVG, because he is just a generational talent and road course racer. It just blows my mind, really, watching him race a race car, especially at a road course. And I'm just like, wow.
Just like we were talking about over this weekend, it's amazing what he's been able to do with his oval track record, too. I mean, everybody always says whenever they see him get out on the track for an oval, he spends the first stage learning how to drive it. He spends the second stage figuring out how to pass, and he spends the third stage putting it all together.
Yeah.
And like really making a move towards the end. So I just can't even imagine what it's going to turn into when you give him 2 to 3 years in the Cup Series. Because just like any rookie, it always drives me crazy how much people like to look at rookies and be like, oh, yeah, they're going to go out there and they're going to kick ass. And it's like, nah, they may have 1 or 2 good races, but for the most part, they're going to run in like 10th to 15th while they figure it out. Maybe have some moments in the top 5 here and there, but I'd love to see what would happen with him, or what will happen with him when he finally gets the opportunity next year. Get him in the Cup Series, watch him kind of grow and see where he ends up points-wise and see if he can improve on that year after year.
Yeah.
Because the way that he's already improved, I think it's totally possible he ends up being at least a round of 8 driver
Yes.
by his second year in Cup.
I mean, I am with Jordan Bianchi. Was like, he said this. He was like, I would put any number amount that SVG's in the playoffs next year, and I could not agree more. Like,
oh yeah,
he's gonna win a road course race next year. I mean, there's freaking what, 6 or 7 of them, like, and most of them, all but 1 or 2, come before the playoffs. And then you have this set up now with tracks like this and the Roval that are still around next year. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, he's gonna do well.
Yeah.
Because they have and I feel like I'm just quoting everything they said, but they made some really good points that I really liked, and it was talking about how, like, back in the day, back in the day it was just all 1.5 mile tracks, and honestly, in this car, NASCAR would be a lot better if it was a lot more 1.5 mile tracks, but it's just not exactly like that anymore. And if you are a specialty driver, you're probably not going to win championships, but you can make your team, like saying you're like exceptional at short tracks or exceptional at super speedways or exceptional at whatever it is, road course, whatever it is. You can take your guys on a pretty solid little playoff run and make your team a pretty solid little check at the end of the year just by being a badass 6 weeks out of the year, 7 weeks out of the year. And I was like,
without a doubt,
that's a great point. And
I've never thought about it that way, but that is a great point.
Yeah,
sure.
That's what I was thinking too. So that's like, I really do see exactly what you said. Like, he is going to be, I really do think, just the way the playoffs are, he's going to be a top 10 in points kind of guy. Even next year, I really think, even next year, just the way the schedule lays out with road courses, he is going to be a top 10 kind of guy. Because if he just racks up a couple wins, literally just a couple, and then runs great at the other ones, gets stage points, like, we've already seen what that could do. Even this year with so many winners, you got guys like, I mean, the most wins is only 4, and the other 3, 2, whatever. He goes out and busts out 2 road course wins. He wins a couple stages. He's going to be sitting at freaking, just say average 4th or 5th in points, and then that re-racks every time. And then you go to the Roval, and, like, he's going to do well there. So I don't know. I'm not saying he's freaking going to be a champion by no means. I'm just saying he's going to do well in the way New Age NASCAR is because of road courses.
Well, you're very right.
And
even looking at his Xfinity, yes, and looking at just his Xfinity stats for this year, when he just got into these cars for the very first time, he's figuring them all out. He's ranked right now 12th in driver points, like regular season points. He's ranked 12th. Which would have gotten him into the playoffs on a point basis if he hadn't gotten those wins he already had. So he's up there sitting in 3rd right now.
Yeah, he's got
with all these playoff points built up. And you start off with, where's their playoffs start here? They go Kansas, Talladega, and then the Roval. So he's got a very strong track in there already.
Yeah.
Then you take him to the next week, and it's going to be a little bit more, or the next round, and it's going to be a little bit more of an equalizer for him because it's 2.5 miles and a short track. But even still, I mean, that puts him within 4 races of a championship race in the Xfinity Series in his first year racing oval tracks. That says a ton. Most of it's just because of the way, like you were just talking about, the tracks are so balanced right now to where different drivers with different specialties can come into our sport and compete against the other best drivers in the world and know that they don't just have to be an oval short track racer. They don't just have to be a high-speed super speedway racer like old school NASCAR. Nowadays, you can be good at anything and make a case for yourself to be in that championship round.
Yeah.
Which is a wild direction that we've found our way into, but has created this situation that we're in right now. It gives us something to talk about.
Yeah, because then on the exact opposite side of that, if you had, like, back in the day, usually about where your average finish was is about where you were in points. If you had that today, we'd be sitting here talking about Chris Buescher being 3rd to 4th in points right now. And you'd have, and I know every year it's not like this, and I know the way they race now is different. So it's kind of apples and oranges, but I still kind of like bringing it up. But there's a guy that posts uses the old point system for like what it is now. And like, dude, the top 4 guys are like separated within like 100 points. And then, back in the day, you could also get like 180 points a race, so like 100 points is like really close. It's not like 100 points now.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's like nothing.
It's like funny that this season specifically I'm talking about on the Cup side, but this season specifically has come down to like what could have been a really cool 4-way kind of thing that just happened naturally,
Yeah, absolutely. but
it's
yeah,
just, like you said, it's just a weird way, and it just is what it is, and it's just nothing's going to change. So it's either you get used to it and enjoy it, or watch badminton on Sundays or something. I don't know.
Damn straight. So outside of that, we had, God dang, I want to say there was only 2 playoff drivers that even finished in the top 10 yesterday.
Oh, great stat!
Chase Briscoe, and
he got 6th.
He got 6th, and then whoever finished in 10th, I believe, Austin Cindric was the other one.
This is the first time since there was 2 stats to go with this, but since they started this whole elimination and all this stuff, so it was like 2014, and there's another stat going back all the way to 04 to the chase. There has never been a race. Now, we're talking about this whole period of time. There's never been a race in the playoffs that at least one playoff driver did not finish in the top 5, ever.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
This is the first time, you said?
First time ever.
Wow.
I
just don't understand what the hell was going on out there. Everybody was racing like a bunch of dickwads.
Yeah, it was just that first wreck got a few guys, and
yeah.
I mean, there was just crazy stuff happening all day, which I enjoyed. I enjoy all the craziness and whatnot. But like, even like Brad Keselowski, like that dude he got involved in about 3 wrecks. He had a tire penalty on pit road. He had a speeding penalty on pit road. And at the end, before that final wreck, was all the way back up into the top 10 and then get screwed again. Like, he literally, I would love to see a graph of how the day went, because it literally would have
just
been up
his
and
position
down.
at the time.
Yes, it would have been crazy to see a graph of Brad Keselowski's day specifically. And they needed, at points, they were way in. Because, I mean, they were having, if he would have had a clean, smooth day, Keselowski would have freaking been possibly, and he said in his interview, he thinks he had a top 5 car if everything would have just went smooth and normal. And even to get back to where he was at like 10th or 11th there at the strategy at the end before he got wiped out again, that's a car I'm talking about too that we should include that could pass. Like, he proved that you could pass. Like a car, like he had that exceptional speed of the day where he could go, kick some ass and make some things happen. And man, they needed a good day so bad, and it just didn't.
They really did.
It
was killer
in there. And I think they're now still sitting at like 12 or 14 out, which is not. I mean, he can go. I mean, he can race Bristol. He's won at Bristol. Like, I don't see him,
especially with this tire. He was one of the 3 guys that was actually able to make it work the longest.
And
but he's at -12 right now.
Buescher has won at Bristol since he's been at RFK. So like they have some notes and some things and such. So I'm not counting Brad K out, really. In all honesty,
either. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I wouldn't either.
In all honesty, I don't know if you can really count out anybody except probably Harrison Burton.
Yeah. I mean, sitting at -20, going to a track that they haven't shown speed at in a very long time, and that win isn't going to really benefit them till like next year. I really don't think you see anything out of him. I think he's our easy one to say is going to get eliminated after next Sunday's race.
And then what? You have Truex, Hamlin, and Keselowski, the other 3, correct?
Sitting -14, -12, and -6 respectively.
You got to look. That was the top 3 in that race that you were just talking about. That was 1, 2, 3.
Absolutely. Man, what a weird thing to have happen.
Yeah. So
to have the best 3 at the last time they raced here, and any one of those gets in a wreck, they're done.
They're done, yes. But
they have got
any
to
one of those
well.
goes out and has a great day, they're okay. Like, I know some other things got to happen, but like the attrition at Bristol, you can get caught up in somebody else's stuff quick. And if you get around it and a couple of those guys mess up, or those guys go out and get stage points all day and then round out, the top 10, top 8, they're going to be sitting all right probably. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be
the key
crazy.
For these guys is genuinely Saturday I guess it's a night race on Saturday. So Friday qualifying. You've got to make sure that you qualify well, so that way any craziness that happens at the very beginning of the race, just like happened this weekend, you're out in front of it. Because any of those 4 guys starts off anywhere lower than 15th place, they are asking for being into a wreck. I mean, it's just too much going on there with this old new tire thing we have going on. A next-gen car that can't save itself to save its life. You're asking for trouble if you don't go out there and qualify like hell.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I just Saturday just has potential to be absolutely nuts. All from a point standpoint, like being the cutoff race, night race at Bristol, tempers flaring, like it just has that. Like I'm very, very, very excited for it. Like
it's had an electric feel the last 3 years it's been ran.
Yeah, and if this tire,
even if it doesn't end up with a good race, it was an electric feel.
Yeah, and with the tire situation and the unknowns, and they even tested this tire in 90-degree weather, and it still wears out, so they don't really know what's going on with the tire. So it's going to be awesome, and I'm excited because 3 of the guys that are out are 3 of the best there that could really go put on a show and make something happen.
All of them have wins there. Denny Hamlin has multiple.
Denny Hamlin's won the last 2 or 3 at Bristol, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be awesome. It really is going to be awesome.
So who else would you think would get eliminated? I mean, obviously we're calling Harrison Burton out. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those 3 guys that gets knocked out of this round because there's only Ty Gibbs and Chase Briscoe that are close enough without William Byron or Kyle Larson or Ryan Blaney. Any of those 3 guys gets wrecked before the end of stage 1. That may change things only if all 3 of those guys are running in the top 10 all day long and getting stage points and then finish up there.
So this is what blows me away. I would have told you Austin Cindric was out of this bitch first round, no questions asked, but he is sitting 3rd right now.
3rd.
And he's plus 45 or more. Like him and Bell and those guys, they're A-okay. I really do think they are A-okay. And that is crazy. And
even I think Daniel Suarez is pretty much A-okay. As long as he can get through stage 1 and stage 2, I think he's fine.
What is he plus? Because I was going to bring him up
plus
as well.
36.
Yeah, see, I think over plus 30 is kind of my number where I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Now, it's under 30 where you're talking about William Byron, Larson, Gibbs, Briscoe being right there. Those are the guys that are and I think Briscoe and Ty Gibbs are actually tied, exactly at the same number of points.
Tied at plus 6, yep.
That's where it's dude, anything could happen to any of those guys, and it could be bad. Now, here's to say, if Daniel Suarez or even one of these guys goes out and blows a tire in the first stage and cannot get stage points or anything, that's a different story on that over 30, plus 30 thing, because then you're really screwed. Your Truex at Darlington, I literally told Dad before that race started, I mean, the race is starting to green flag, and I was as long as Truex doesn't wreck in the first stage, he's locked in. And he goes out and wrecks on lap 1 or 2. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this just happened. So as long as they don't have one of those Truex situations, they're probably going to be all right. But you just know at Bristol, something's going to happen.
Something always happens.
Something's going to happen. So I just don't know. I mean, I don't know with those guys. Our 2 favorite drivers are kind of right there in the middle of all that, too.
It's true.
Blaney.
I feel at least good enough about it that I think that I know Kyle can go out there and get himself qualified up far enough up front that he won't have to worry about getting caught up in a wreck. I'm not really that worried about Kyle Larson. I'm not really that worried about Ryan Blaney either. I feel like you're going to say something a little different.
No, I think
Blaney goes out there and has as long as he has a solid qualifying and ends up 15th or up, I think he'll be fine.
Blaney just needs to go to bed at night and be thank God for Atlanta. because that saved him
for real.
for this. Same, well, not even for Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric had a great Atlanta and ran great yesterday. And also, props to Briscoe. He ran in the top 5 all day long yesterday, and that pulled him out from minus 21 or something like that. When everyone last week, he's dead last. Oh, it's a must win. It's a must win. And then, boom, he takes himself out. Boom, right here, he's back in the game. So, like, there were some of those guys that really did great yesterday that I just, like, want to give some props to. And this just...
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just never know. And like I said, I would have told you like Suarez, Cindric, Burton, and then I don't really know who my fourth one would have been, but like those 3 guys I would have said are out. And now you have like Cindric and Suarez that are like looking pretty good to make it to this first round. And I'm like, it's just kind of crazy.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
No one.
But I think without a doubt, it's going to be... Briscoe is the one I am the most worried about that is above the cut line, because even Ty Gibbs that's tied with him, Ty's running in the same equipment that those other 2 guys that need to leapfrog him are running in. So he at least has an even playing field with them with a 6-point advantage. Briscoe, I feel like that 6-point advantage counts for something, but I feel like he has a minus at least 10 disadvantage, because if you just think you're running average in the top 10 for stage 1 and stage 2, that would get you 5 points for each stage. You'd have 10 points extra. That I just don't know if I see Chase Briscoe having that kind of result in the stages, but I could definitely see Hamlin, Kez, and Truex all running in the top 10,
all
getting
day.
Some of that average of points.
Yeah, all day long.
That Briscoe, I feel like, will miss out on. So
I
that's
agree
the one
with
thing
you.
that worries me about him is I feel like he's going to be the one that's got to fight the hardest to get as much as he possibly can, even though he's probably going to get the least number of points of those guys.
I want to say one thing about Cindric, though. Like, who would have bet? Like, who would have thought, even outside of him getting that win when Blaney runs out of gas and then Bell, whatever all happened there, who would have thought Austin Cindric goes out and has 2 of his absolute best points days of the whole entire season, the first 2 races of the playoffs, that just set that man up plus green money, it looking pretty going in the second round? Like, who, like,
Absolutely.
What were the odds of that? His 2 best points days of the year being those 2 races. Like, that's crazy.
I don't know, but that is nuts. I mean, that right there says to me that the team finally just said, look, Cindric, you need all the help you can get. Here's a couple setup ideas. Here's a couple of this. Here's a couple of that. But then he goes out there and he takes them and he performs with them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with you. I don't know.
I've been I
where
was
the hell
mind-blown
that
about it
came
yesterday.
from.
I was just thinking about it. I was like, dude, Cindric running top 5 like this whole race and just killing them right now. And
I just want to see Austin Cindric at Bristol, where he normally would rank there.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm curious on. Where's driver averages? All
Same
right, here we go.
Suarez.
Pulling it up.
Look, where does Suarez run at Bristol? I don't know. I can't think of any like Bristol moments with Suarez, honestly.
So, Austin Cindric at Bristol since 2022, and only counting concrete races. So there's only 3 races to go by. You're talking a starting position of 21st, 29th, and 9th, and finishing position of 31, 32, and 20. So dude has 1 top 20 ever, and that was 20th place back in September 2022.
But see, I think Cindric is so good on points that if he goes out and runs 20th, he's making it to the next round.
I think so too. Yeah, just with this points cushion that he's got built up.
Like,
yeah, with 43
he did so
extra
good
points,
at Watkins
he'd have
Glen
to lose.
and Atlanta. As long as he doesn't wreck in the first round, as he goes out and just gets points and finishes 20th, he's going to go get 20 points. You know,
and
like,
the way I
gonna
look
be
at
that-
it, you're talking like so Denny being the first one over the cut line. Denny goes out and he runs first in both stages. He'll get 11 points for each stage if you include that playoff point in there. So he's got 22 points. That still leaves him at a 21-point deficit to Austin Cindric. So he'd have to beat him by like 22 positions with winning both of the stages to knock Austin Cindric off his high horse. So yeah, I think
look
Austin,
up Suarez
as long as he goes,
starts.
oh yeah,
at
as long
Bristol,
as Cindric does
another one I
okay,
wanna see.
he'll be fine.
And that's, you got to look at this too. Every single, since this started, you got to look at this like a 3-race season. Like, I ain't even worried about next week. I got to figure out what I got to do to make it past here today, kind of thing. And like with Cindric having 2 incredible races, the first 2, and then this one, boom, there he is. And like, I'm just, I think that he's good.
Suarez, since 2022, finished 19th, 2022. 2023, finished in 21st, and 2024, earlier this year, he finished in 18th. So another one that's got he's a little bit more consistently in the top 20, but we're talking 18th, 19th, and 21st.
Yeah.
So 2 guys that are just right there with each other at the exact same position. And plus 36, I mean, you're still going to have...
Yeah.
He's plus 36.
Plus 36, running 20th, he's probably still going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have to get no points in both stages and then finish outside of the top 20.
Yeah,
for that to
those
really
guys
make a
difference.
Just
like did this perfectly. To like get up there on your strengths, like because even Suarez came back after going gravel dirt roading yesterday. He still came back and had a good finish. So like,
yes, he did.
They did good to give themselves this buffer going into a track that like maybe we run 20th at or worse, whatever. Like that's what you got to do. You got to put all your eggs when you look at these 3-race series, these 3-race seasons here at the end. You got to put all your eggs into whatever basket's going to get you at your best spot of those 3.
Absolutely. And you're talking going into a round with Kansas, Talladega, and Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
Talladega right there alone could make or break your entire season. I mean, look at Ryan Blaney last year.
Yeah.
That can make or break your entire season, which is another opportunity for the 2 car, another opportunity for the 99 car to keep on doing what they're doing and shocking everybody by making it through. That's the hard part about the playoff format that we have is it's not solely a skill-based game anymore. It also has to do with a lot of luck.
It's a numbers
and it has to do a lot. It's kind of like NFL teams trying to make the playoffs at the end of the year when they start looking at it. Okay, if Green Bay loses and Michigan wins and these guys lose and these guys win, then these guys will make it into the playoffs. And it's like you can go out there and do your best this one race, but really it's a whole season's worth of everyone's results all accumulating, all coming together at the very end to decide whether you make it or not.
And that's the thing, too, and we're talking like hypothetically here, but this next round, Cindric, I would put money down Cindric makes it. Cindric's going to the next round. Okay, probably Kansas, we can go through these 3 races here. Kansas has been the best next-gen track since next-gen racing started. There's wrecks, there's attrition, there's crazy shit that happens, and the finishes and the run, everything about it has been incredible. Say he has just a mediocre, normal day there. Okay, say he goes to Talladega like he's done at all these other plate tracks all year. He goes there, gets stage points, runs well, sets him up. Then you go to a road course, which also leans into his favor. I'm not saying he's great at the Roval. I don't know his Roval numbers, but he is better at road courses than he is at other tracks. So, like, there's 2 more situations right there where Cindric could find his way into the top 8 when probably 99% of everyone assumed he was out of this. And like,
although I will put a wet blanket on it that Austin Cindric's last 3 finishes at Kansas were 37th, 31st, and 31st.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to have that dud, and then you have a chance to redeem yourself with Dega and the Roval.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the hard part about it is you can look at a 3-race series and say, we have one of these races that we're not good at. Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. Get good because it's okay in the round of 16 when you have a points buffer to have a bad race, which he has set himself up now for. He could have a bad race at Bristol and he's fine. But as soon as you cross that threshold, it's the give and take of the playoffs. Denny Hamlin may be outside of the window right now, but the moment that next race happens and he somehow makes it, he's back on top of the world like Truex last year.
Yep.
They're always going to get back up to the top, and you're always going to be thrown back to the bottom.
Yep.
You don't have the playoff points or the ability to give yourself bad races until you've had 2 really good races and you can have a gimme on the 3rd.
And Denny, who knows what Denny is going to do at Talladega if he makes it? I mean, is he going to run dead last? I mean,
Was he going to ride in the freaking back?
I don't. It's just like those, and then that window does close. Like when you get to those final 5 races of the year, there's really no. You have one bad race. Like Denny has great races. He's leading at Homestead. Boom, steering blows out. He's out. Like once you get into those last 3. Like we're saying, the first round, 2 goods, 1 bad. All right. Second round, you're probably good with 2 goods, 1 bad. You're probably still okay if you have 2 great races like Cindric has had.
Yeah.
Next round, though, it's pretty much all 3 got to be great races, and that's where the cream rises to the top with like your last year with Blaney's, your Larsons, your Bells. Like that's where those guys like have great races. Now we can also talk about Christopher Bell. He hasn't done much recently. But Christopher Bell, the freaking playoffs line up perfect for Christopher Bell. So I could see him ended up doing great at the end again and making the Final Four again like he's done the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's still sitting all the way up top of the playoff leaderboard. The only reason he's not in front of Logano is because of that lack of a win. But, I mean, that's the weird part about Christopher Bell, man, is he's the quietest. He's like, even Chase Elliott this year has been exactly what Christopher Bell is every year. A guy that's going to run between 10th and 3rd all year long, have a great average finish, always get really good points, may come out and skunk them on a race here and there occasionally. But you're just not going to talk about him much because he's always there, but he's never doing anything. He's just riding there, riding real good, but riding there.
Yeah.
Which is just the wildest thing. And now here we go when we get into the playoffs, and he's like a superhero. And he's sitting at the top of the leaderboard again. I could easily see him making the Final Four all over again.
Yeah, same. And it also is because, too, just like you said, when these things reset, he's going back to the top each time, you know?
Yep.
Because he had the guys like Larson and Reddick and Bell and Hamlin, like those guys got all those playoff points. Well, Hamlin got half his taken away, so maybe take him out of that. But Larson, Reddick, and Bell, they're going to go right back to 1, 2, and 3 as soon as tomorrow's over. Granted, they all make it. Or not tomorrow, Saturday night. And if they all make it. But like once they're going to go right back to 1, 2, and 3. Now you're going to go to Kansas where Reddick, Larson, and Bell are going to kick ass. You're going to go to the Talladega where literally anything could happen. And then you hit the Roval. I think all 3 of those guys could go out and win the Roval.
Yeah.
And then they go right back to the top again. So it's just, I don't know. Playoffs are crazy, man. It just is what it is. Playoffs are crazy.
They really are, especially with the way that we run playoffs, man. It's just it's a wild thing. Every round is its own series. Every series is its own nightmare for every single driver for different reasons.
Yeah.
And it's just always that way. So you can sit there and watch your driver, and you're going to have a completely different playoff experience than someone sitting right next to you cheering for a different driver.
Yeah.
It's just a completely wild way that we run it. And sometimes it sucks, and sometimes it's amazing, and it just is what it is. And we may complain about it a lot, but it's still a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah,
and I still love that. I love that fact.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like it is crazy at the end of these things. And you know, I just don't want to have like an undeserving champion at the end of all this, but like, hey, if it happens, it happens, you know?
Absolutely. And I just feel like we've had a lot of luck never having any undeserving champions in the Cup Series specifically.
Yeah.
I can't say the same for the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, but Cup Series in specific always gives you the champion that you can find reason to say, yeah, they earned that. They really worked their ass off and they made that happen.
Yeah, I agree.
So coming around to Bristol, just looking at it at its face, taking the playoff implications out of it, who do you think is your favorite to win this race?
He's going to have a number 11 on the side of his car, and it's probably going to be purple or teal or black and red, and black and red with sports clothes.
If he doesn't come out there and do a bunch of dumbass shit like he has the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing. But if you just go straight off of what Bristol's been and what Denny has been at Bristol, it's just kind of hard to go against the fella. honestly.
It's
just
true.
like, you know, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy to me that I could sit here and genuinely tell you that I would and could put money on those 3 guys that are out of the playoffs right now to go out and win this race. I am not shitting you when I say that. Like, I believe that wholeheartedly.
It's so true. I mean, just reading off Denny's last few races at Bristol. First, 9th, 21st, 5th. That's going back to 2020.
I bet 21st was
even
a dirt
before
race.
then,
I guarantee you 21st was a dirt race.
No, it was a September race. This is
okay.
only counting concrete ones.
Okay.
He was running that day, but he started in 7th. So who knows? It could have been a pit strategy or something. But either way, I mean, those are phenomenal stats. You're talking a guy that's got an average finish of like 7th.
They say by the numbers, according to what I've read today and what I was listening to, by the numbers, Bristol is Denny's best track by like a long shot on his average finishes, poles, finishes, top, all the things. So
got a damn sword on him every wall of his house.
Yeah, that's why. Like, if you're, and here again, anything can happen. But if you're just going off of what it is, and you're -2, and you're Denny Hamlin going to Bristol, you're probably like, yeah, we're gonna go win this bitch. Because we're Denny Hamlin, and I have Chris Gapehart on the toolbox, and my owner's Joe Gibbs, and we're going to go out and unload fast as shit.
Absolutely.
And so that's
the only
where
thing
I'm at
that
with
makes it a little bit more even is the fact that he's got 2 teammates of his that desperately need to go out there and run really well as well. And Ty Gibbs and Martin Truex, because I think he's flanked on either end. I think all 3 of those guys are like 1, 2, 3 in the playoff rankings.
Yeah.
Right at the bubble. So you're talking 3 guys that desperately need to make it out, and a good chance that only 1 to 2 of them do. So I think that's going to be the hard part for him, is he's going to be racing against teammates that all have his information, that all know what he's going to be doing and how he's going to be racing it. And as much as they want to keep it close to the vest, there's no way you hide everything from your teammates.
Yeah.
So that's the one equalizer for him, I think, that there will be.
Yeah.
I don't think that means he's going to go out there and run like 20th. I think that means if it comes down to the end of the race and their playoff bubble is right there, and he's still got a little bit left to go, and there's 2 of his teammates around, he's going to have to do the most that he possibly can. And that may involve him getting wrecked by a teammate in some crazy scenario. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he just can't. When you go into the race minus points, you just can't afford any mistakes at all whatsoever. So, like, it's got to be a clean race all the way around. Going in with minus at all, it's got to be good. And also on the other side of that, if you go in and you're only plus a couple good, you got to go out and just kick some ass. But I think Larson is also, I mean, Larson's won at Bristol. Bristol, he says, is his favorite track. He has great numbers at Bristol. So that's another one. I don't know. You know, is it a playoff guy going to win? Do you think playoff guy wins this race?
Absolutely.
Same.
I think without a doubt a playoff guy wins this race, only because it's a race where all of the guys should be good. So you just take playoff guy confidence plus the extra whatever they put into the setup and the extra grease on the tires that they're going to put in there. Just all the little things that make a playoff driver really good in the playoffs, and the fact that there's still 16 of them. Mm-hmm. I just think it's a no-brainer that a playoff driver wins this.
Yeah.
If I had to make like an over-under bet, which I wish they would do this on DraftKings, but number of playoff drivers to finish in the top 10, I would put that number probably at 7 to 6.5 to 7.5, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to be just a field full of playoff drivers at the end of this.
Unless something crazy happens and there's a wreck at the front with all of them just pile into it.
Exactly. But if you're talking like a clean race, there's maybe like 2 or 3 playoff drivers that get knocked out just naturally throughout because there's 16 of them that are all over the place. I really think you're finishing with like 7 playoff drivers in the top 10.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Maybe 1 skunk in the top 5.
I think, I don't know, dude. I could see a lot of these guys coming out here and doing well. You're going to have Larson, Hamlin. We've already talked about Truex, Keselowski. That's 4. I don't see Bell going there and running bad.
Byron will run at least decent.
Iron will run decent. So it's going to be, I'm just telling you, Saturday night's going to be an all-timer. Coming from the aspect
it
of
has
just,
that feeling,
just,
doesn't it? Doesn't it have that feeling? I
just
think the
Bristol,
reason
yeah.
why it has that feeling, Hamlin, Keselowski, and Truex. We've talked about them all podcasts.
Yeah.
I think that is the reason why.
Yeah, that is why. And it's just going to be the night race at Bristol. Saturday night, just I've already named off all this stuff, but it's just going to be electric, and it's cut off, and there's going to be people. We might get a helmet thrown. It'd be awesome to see another good old Bristol helmet throw.
Freaking hope so, man. I want a punch. I want somebody getting knocked down, drug out.
Yeah,
all of the nightmares that we could possibly envision.
That's what
I just want them all to happen.
That's what I want. So I'm right there with you. So I just, it's going to be an all-timer. I have that feeling. I'm putting that into the existence here, that it's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah. I'm definitely stoked for it. But we're getting on to this 50-minute mark. You know what I really, really want to hear?
What you got?
I want to hear who the hell your hack of the week is this week.
Well, you probably already know.
I think I do.
He ended up having another top 10, which
somehow
surprised me. Somehow had a top 10.
I don't understand how that happened.
First time Spires ever put all three cars in the top 10. It just still is also hilarious to me that Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar have kicked Corey LaJoie's ass in top 10s this year. It's just hilarious. But on the first lap of the race, to go in there and take out Kyle Busch, who you've already taken out once this year. And if you got to listen or you read what Kyle Busch said on the radio and his team said on the radio, it was awesome. Just motherfucking everybody. And
same guy that got you at
Pocono,
wherever the hell it was.
Yeah, it was just awesome. It was awesome. Ends Blaney's day. Ends Hamlin's day. Bell gets involved. Keselowski's involved. It was like a playoff. It was like a playoff wreck that a non-playoff guy started, pretty much. Dude, Ricky Stenhouse hit that wall so hard. It just destroyed everything over there. Knocked the camera off on the first corner of the race. I was like, holy shit.
Just wild stuff. I still can't believe that happened on lap 1.
Me neither. But that is, he's won the award a bunch this year. But Corey LaJoie, a race is just not completed until he is the cause of a caution or calls the caution. Like, it's just every week with the guy. Like, he is just, I don't know what the word is. He's fighting for his life out there. I understand. But when sometimes, desperate people do desperate things, and like, I kind of just feel like that's what Corey's doing. And the way he's running sometimes, it's like, good Lord, you're just, you flipped yourself over trying to wreck a guy at Michigan. Come on. Like, it's like, that's like, how does that even happen? Just some of the decisions he's made. And I'm not saying that, like, me and you in the same situation wouldn't be desperate and making the same decisions, I'm just saying, like, it just is what it is, and you just got to call a spade in this situation. And I think he's just driving a little bit over his head. And so he's my hack of the week. That was the most long drawn out getting the hack of the week thing ever. But he is my hack of the week. I was like, I posted on Twitter and I just said, Corey fucking LaJoie. I was like, God dang.
God dang.
As Mark Ively said it. So I just, man, I couldn't believe it. But most of the time when he does something, it's like so just not should have happened that most of the time I'm like, what the fuck? Every time he's
involved, how did that go down?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Every time that Corey's involved in a wreck or, there was a race this year where he had 3 times he spun out. 3 cautions. There used to be a rule back in the day. If you calls or were in 3 cautions, they parked you. I don't know if that's still a thing.
Done.
But
it can't be because he's still on the racetrack
he's still
every
there.
single time.
So I don't know. But that's my hack of the week. And is yours the same or different?
No, mine is different.
Okay.
And I think you're going to get a kick out of this.
Okay.
But Connor Zilic goes out here in the Xfinity Series and whoops unbelievable amounts of ass.
Unbelievable amounts.
In his very first, it was his very first NASCAR Xfinity Series start ever. And he goes out there and puts on a clinic against these guys. And this isn't like a Shane Van Gisbergen coming into the Cup Series to a track that he has probably the most credentials to be good at in the entire field. And everyone's been there is going there for the very first time and has never seen this place before. This is one of the oldest road races in the NASCAR schedule. It's one of the 2 OG road course races outside of Riverside from way back in the day.
And it's been gone since before we were born.
Exactly. These 2 races have been the bread and butter of NASCAR road course racing. For the longest time, you have the most data about it. It's the most speed-oriented, and it's got 7 freaking turns. It's not that crazy complicated. I'm not going to say it's not hard, but it's not crazy complicated as far as road courses go. And you're telling me that this kid who just turned 18 and just got his ability to race in your series for the very first time goes out there
18.
and beats every single one of the other 30-something drivers by multiple seconds? Everybody's in a different zip code compared to what he's doing. The Hack of the Week award to me gets cut up into however many pieces. Well, how many race cars were there on the track that day? There was 38. I'm going to cut the Hack of the Week award into 37 pieces and give it one piece of it to each of the other drivers in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, saying,
first ever whole field Hack of the Week.
You suck. You also suck. All the way down to 38th place at Kyle Weatherman. I'm going to give every single one of them a Hack of the Week award for letting an 18-year-old kid in his first start go out there and make them all look like a bunch of idiots.
That's hilarious.
And that's not to say that Allison just texted me, fired up. That's not to say that Connor Zilic didn't deserve the win, because he did. He goes out there and he's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen put on a racetrack. The last time I saw somebody do something like that was Ty Gibbs, and Ty Gibbs is now racing in the Cup Series for one of the best teams.
And Shane Van Gisbergen.
And, well, Shane Van Gisbergen, I gave my reason why I thought that was a little bit different. But the only other person that goes out there and does something like that in the Xfinity Series in specific is Ty Gibbs. And he goes out and does that. It's like, my gosh, man, this dude is, I know everybody's already talking so much about him and how good he is, but that just goes, that's a whole long-winded Hack of the Week award to 37 guys that shows you why I agree with what they're saying.
I couldn't agree more. He went out and kicked ass. I mean,
with a penalty in the middle of the race, too.
Yeah, I don't know if he's just, I don't know. Is he a generational talent?
I don't know enough about him to be able to say so.
Me neither.
So that's my Hack of the Week award. The whole NASCAR Xfinity Series.
I love that. A whole field Hack of the Week.
Oof. That's just rough, buddy.
It is.
But who knows? Maybe he'll keep on keeping on and keep on whooping ass, and they'll just have to put him in the Cup Series a year early.
He's got a few more races coming up, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does at some. I really do want to see what he does at some ovals, but he has like multiple coming up this year, and he is full time in that bad boy next year. So,
hell yeah!
He's also
what car is he going to be racing next year in Xfinity?
For junior, I don't know if they have a number yet. If it's going to be. I don't know what the number's going to be, but he's racing for junior.
Hell yeah. Love it.
He is also on my list, just like Shane Van Gisbergen. I would put money down that kid will be in the playoffs.
Oh, without a doubt.
Xfinity has
he'll be in the playoffs
7
for sure.
road course races next year, which is the most they've
for
ever
a shorter schedule
they've ever had, yeah. So you can book this right now on September 16th. At 5:10 p.m., that Connor Zilic and Shane Van Gisbergen will be in the playoffs in their respected series next year.
I couldn't agree more. Completely, honestly true.
And I also still have my accidental SVG championship bet. He is going to be
still rocking.
He is going to be top of the standings when these playoffs start, and I know he's not going to finish there. But who saw that one coming either? Like,
Oh, nobody.
Being number one.
I mean, I think everybody assumed he would make it in and he would
Oh,
win a couple
yeah.
races. I don't think anybody thought he would be like number 1, 2, or 3 by the end of the regular season.
Did you know, until Austin Hill won that race at Atlanta, that was Austin Hill's 3rd win of the year. That was the deepest ever in Busch, Xfinity Nationwide, Grand National Series history ever that a series has gone that deep before they had 2 drivers with 3 wins. And it's just happened with Atlanta. You have Shane Van Gisbergen 3 wins and Austin Hill 3 wins. Now, also, here's another incredible stat. Austin Hill's all 3 wins, all plate tracks. All of his 3 wins, 3 road courses. They haven't won anywhere else.
That's amazing.
It's insane.
Golly, there's a reason why Austin Hill gets like negative money to win plate races, and that would be why. And why Shane Van Gisbergen gets negative money to win road course races.
Yeah. But
shit's nuts.
It is what it is. Bristol's going to be crazy. I'm honestly like super, super, super excited.
I'm fired up. I'm trying to convince Allison to go to Bristol with me.
Oh, are you going?
I'm trying. We're thinking about it. It's not fully certain yet.
Oh, just dropping the bomb on us right here.
I'm thinking about it.
It's do it, dude. It's one of those like getting to it just has potential to be a all-timer. Just like me getting to go to Atlanta and seeing a 3-wide finish, like I feel like that's like
hey,
an
Allison,
all-timer.
we're going to Bristol. Screw it. We'll see what she has to say about that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
you've been to Bristol a bunch of times, so
twice now. I'm hoping to make it 3 on Saturday.
That would be
so we'll see.
That would be incredible, dude.
It would be absolutely wild.
I hope you go. I hope you get to go. I will be.
Me and you both.
I will be leaving Sunday morning for the beach for a week. Thank God.
Big old PCB guy.
Yep.
Hell yeah, love it.
No podcast next week.
No podcast next week. He's already calling
after Bristol. Sorry, I will be. I might turn my phone off completely.
Dang, Dawson unplugged. And it's not because he's playing acoustic on the beach.
I might bring a guitar. You never know.
Oh shit! Never mind. Dawson really unplugged on the beach.
I might write me a song down there with my toes in the water and my ass in the sand.
Damn, pushing people off the stage by my hands.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, that was a year ago 2 years ago today, by the way. I have the pictures on my Instagram.
Of the broken drum shield.
Yeah, we won't go into all that, but that happened 2 years ago today. And everyone there can suck my ass, pretty much.
Damn. All right. Hack of the week. Ocean City, Maryland.
Oh, man. All right.
Oh, shit.
Well, thank y'all for hanging out with us.
Heck yeah. You can find us online anywhere at Caleb Conrady on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and other fine places of social media enjoyment.
I'm Dawson Edwards Music on Across the Board. And then you can follow our podcast page, Raised Rowdy Racing, Across the Board. Matt Burrell.
Raised Rowdy.
He's on there. Raised Rowdy. Follow them everywhere. Raised Rowdy Nikki T. Follow them everywhere. They have... They just did old Floribama party this past weekend, and Floribama is outside of Talladega the wildest place I've ever been in my life. So,
damn, still haven't gone yet. Still need to go,
dude. If me and you went there together,
we'd die.
Yeah, maybe. It'd be
cool.
It'd be awesome.
It'd be a life well lived.
Yeah, Floribama. For anyone that's listening, if you've never been, you just gotta go one weekend. It is just the most.
Just give it a shot.
It is just some things. It's just like Talladega to me. It's like just things that you didn't know people would do or willing to do in public in front of God and everybody.
And they just
do it there, and it's just Floribama is just that place. Like there's a reason it's in a lot of songs and reasons that Eric Church and Kenny Chesney and Jimmy Buffett and Willie Nelson and all those people hung out there all these years, and Dean Dillon and Hank Cochran. I could keep going down the list of all the guys that have houses and spent many nights in Floribama, in Alabama down there.
Yeah.
But it's just off the rails. So if you've never been,
you
should totally go. Just stay. You can stay in the condo right beside it and just come down there. You can just walk to it, and you don't need to drive when you leave there. So walking right back across to your hotel is definitely the best way to go about it.
That's amazing.
Floribama did not pay us anything to tell you all of that. So if they want to sponsor the
not
podcast,
not a single dime, but that can change, Floribama.
Yeah, if they want to sponsor this, that'd be great.
Heck yeah. Well, anyway, y'all, thank you so much for listening. And since Dawson said Floribama, make sure that if you are in PCB over next week after the Bristol race is done, and you're nursing your hangover, if you hear the soothing sounds of a guitar and someone saying, shoo, 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 into a microphone, you go over and tell our good buddy Dawson hello.
Come see us.
And tell him that he is your hack of the week. Not for any particular reason, unless he gives you a really good one. But anyway, we love you all. Thank y'all for listening. We will catch y'all 2 weeks from now. Adios.
See y'all.